Hi, everyone. Welcome to another astrology update. My name is Jessica Zdenek. You can call me Jessie, with the astrology forecast coming up for this very powerful new moon portal. We've got a new moon and an eclipse coming up on April 30th. The exact time of the new moon is going to be 3:28 p.m. Central Time. And the eclipse will happen at 3:41 p.m. Central Time. So just 10 minutes or so after this new moon begins. So here is what we have going on for the astrology. The sun and moon are here together in Taurus at 10:28. And the degree that the sun and moon are at is a woman sprinkling long rows of flowers. So this new moon has to do with nurturing and nourishing and watering your garden. So as we approach this time, consider maybe what it is that you are watering in your life. And maybe also consider, is it beautiful? Is it natural? Is it the beauty of the earth and that representation of spring that we have in the flowers? The lunar eclipse is happening at the nodes. So you can see the nodes here at 2228 is the north node and 2228 is the south node. So the eclipse is going to activate the sign of Scorpio and the sign of Taurus. So for the Sabian symbols there at those degrees, those are interesting too. 23 Taurus, north node is a jewelry shop filled with valuable gems. And the south node is a bunny metamorphized into a fairy. So the north node has to do with really finding the value, the gems. And eclipses will bring about big beginnings and big endings. And I'll go through the houses with your rising sign a little bit later and share what changes that may be happening for in your house if you know your rising sign. So I'm seeing this energy as like really highlighting for us and helping us see clearly what it is that is most valuable to ourselves. It could even be like our very nature of our soul, our own essence, and things that are not in line with those values will bring about good changes and maybe falling away. The south node, this degree of a bunny metamorphized into a fairy, this degree has to do about transitions. And it's also about overcoming our naivete and overcoming and being able to, as Durga does, ride the tiger of our primal instincts. And instead of having our desires capture us and lead us around, as bunnies in springtime are known to be very sexual beings, the idea here is that you are mastering the impulses and you're mastering that sexual energy. And so there's a transition that's happening into taking that sexual energy and bringing it into a fairy essence. Fairies have wings. They're known to fly or to have more of that upper body heart chakra energy connected to it. So finding what's valuable and mastering our instincts will be a big theme, I think, with the eclipse energies that are coming up. What else do we have? We'll just go through the chart a little bit here. For Moorhead, Minnesota, this eclipse ascendant new moon is going to be activating the houses of Virgo for a rising sign. So for us in particular, it'll be an initiation into getting some more details. And we have Mars right across the way. And Mars is at a degree here of an examination of initiates in the sanctuary of occult brotherhood. So that degree can have to do with the experience of feeling like you're on trial, of feeling maybe the wounds of the Inquisition, also having to do with being measured and passing a test, really noticing what kind of growth you've done. So those will be some of the energies that Mars will be bringing out in this transit. Another cluster here that is bringing forth a lot of powerful energies for this new moon is that Venus and Jupiter are exactly conjunct. They're both at 27 degrees at the very end of Pisces, and it's just a few degrees past Neptune. So they're still all considered to be together here. And Jupiter is going to make things bigger. Venus is amplifying more of that, the beauty of spirituality, the beauty of like the deep waters. And the 28th degree of Pisces is a fertile garden under a full moon. So this energy also has to do with fertility and the earth, and the fertility of the feminine as well. So beautiful energies for Beltane, which is the day after this new moon. And I was also thinking of the movie. I would highly recommend it. I just watched the movie Carmageddon by Jeff Brown, and he brings up a lot of really interesting ideas about the nature of spirituality and how we can project things onto other people or gurus. And after I watched that movie, I had a dream about this ocean coming and like flooding my creative work. And I think the end of Pisces with Neptune, there are a lot of ideas about the deep nature of spirituality, the flood of emotions that can kind of overwhelm us sometimes, and the emotions, as Jeff Brown so beautifully expressed in his movie, was the anger that sometimes the guru or the spiritual journey can bring out in us, the rage of Kali, the rage of the goddess, or the rage that happens when boundaries are being crossed. So with Mars here also being at this degree of initiation, we could also find ourselves initiated into deeper emotions, becoming more conscious of the deep emotions or the deep anger, and then finding a right outlet for the anger. It's also a very important part of the spiritual journey, so that we can hit the mark and become more aware that sometimes the deep feelings are rooted in our childhood issues with our mother or father, maybe even past lives. So if you're feeling a lot of emotional energy coming up, that might also be in play for this particular transit. All right, the Neptune is making a sextile here with the North Node, which means it's adding support and helping us hit our destiny. So this deep, watery work here is helping us hit our destiny. Another sextile between Sun and Moon with Mars here at 11 degrees. So this new moon is making that support to Mars, and so Mars's energy is really going to be coming through in maybe helping us water our dreams or take that action that's needed to nourish the earth and nourish our bodies in the way that we need right now. Another really interesting feature, I think this is one of the most interesting features of this chart, is I found asteroid Kali, who is considered to be a rageful, wrathful goddess. I've also heard Kali talked about by Swami Sri Kalishwar, one of my teachers, as the power of the prayers of all of the saints combined. And that's what makes her so fierce, is because she is carrying that much energy that's been charged by the pleas of the saints for justice and for healing on earth. Kali is exactly conjunct with Chiron, the wound. And Kali is at this degree 1444, and Chiron is at 14. And I keep seeing that 144 popping up all over the place. It's a very interesting number. It's a biblical number. And it also has to do with the power of the saints in this motif of 144,000 people, maybe being the kind of like the 100 monkey idea, where there is enough power of the saints where suddenly things shift on earth. And so I've just been reflecting on what would it be like to have the power of all the saints' prayers directed at the primal wound of humanity, as Chiron represents our deepest wounds, and what kind of healing could be possible in this new moon portal when that kind of energy is being directed at our wounds. So potential for really deep healing, I believe. This degree is being, it's a sextile with the midheaven, so the place that's right above the sky as this event is taking place. And I didn't write it down on the chart. There's a few things that I missed here, but asteroid Lilith is exactly conjunct the midheaven of this event. And so Lilith is also supporting the rage of the goddess here, is supporting this healing energy that Kali is bringing to Chiron. The midheaven is an interesting degree. 11 degrees Gemini is two people at widely different points are in conversation with each other by means of telepathy. As Gemini is really working on the sacred mirror and what does it mean to be in partnership with somebody else and to be a twin, and to find that sacred balance. And we can recognize how even in our own thoughts, we might be dialoguing with the opposite. What's the opposite of that? And what's the opposite of that? So the degree here in Gemini is becoming aware of how we might be in telepathic communication with those who hold a very different outlook than we do. And then the work of the twins is, and how do we balance that? How do we dance with that? How do we see the sacred opposite in that, rather than trying to, as a younger form of consciousness might do, destroy that which is other or be afraid of that which is other? How do we move beyond those kind of primal instincts to destroy that which is different than us or that which we fear, and into a communication and a dance and a flow and seeing sacred and other? There is a trine that's happening between the ascendant of this event and Uranus, which is in the beams of the sun and moon. So we'll be getting a lot of electrical energy from Uranus at this new moon point. And for us in Moorhead in particular, that energy will be a part of our soul path, which is over here in Virgo. So getting the details. Virgo, let's see if I wrote that one down, is about this degree. 15 Virgo is fine lace, ornamental handkerchief. So this degree is about refinement and grace and developing dignity. So that would be like what our lesson is, what we're supposed to learn at this moment. So dealing with the flowering of civilization. So taking things from a more brute and lower level consciousness of soundbite wars or rude language towards others, and coming into a more noble, dignified relationship with other is the call for this particular event. Human decency, quiet confidence. The shadow of this kind of energy is someone who's stressing over details, financial obsessions, thinking about things so much that you never get the show on the road. So embodying the grace in how we interact with others. And it seems like Mars opposite is going to be kind of playing that role of judge and jury, of initiating how are we doing. And maybe the eclipse is like a snapshot of how are we doing in humanity and how we're treating other people. How are we doing in seeing the other? Because the other is always a reflection or projection of other parts of us as well within. I'm also sensing that this eclipse is going to be a powerful like karma flip, because the Venus cycle was 8 years ago, and now we're in like this new cycle. And so if there was a big karmic event that happened 8 years ago, I almost intuit that this eclipse season will bring about a balancing of energies. All right. Okay, there's a really important point here. You notice I don't have all the goddess asteroids that I usually put on this chart. I actually wrote them on my chart, but when I took a picture of it, I skipped it out. So I apologize about that. So right here beneath Mars, the very beginning degrees of Pisces at 333 Pisces is Juno, the goddess of sacred marriage and the balance of Hyros Gamos. And you know, this can do with the balance not just in marriage, although she does rule marriage, but it's the balance of masculine and feminine energies and what their right relationship looks like when they come into harmony. And this is making a trine with over here is Black Moon Lilith at like 2 degrees Cancer. And this part of the chart is the edges of the galaxy. It's the farthest reaches out of the galaxy. So the Black Moon Lilith there is like the cosmic yoni at the far reaches of the galaxy. And Juno is trining and helping, like this energy flows really well when it's a trine. Balance of masculine and feminine with that goddess energy. So I think that's another really important feature, but it's invisible in my chart, so you have to use your imagination. Mars will be making a square with the midheaven and Lilith. So the rage of the goddess with like the masculine initiation, brotherhood, you know, male packs or male groups who may have excluded Lilith and her energies. So the way I've heard about Lilith is that in ancient times, many talismans were created to protect against Lilith, and she was seen as the reason for why bad things happen to kids or why bad things happen to people or on Earth. And so there were many talismans that were created to protect people against her energy. And in further development in Jungian psychoanalysis, the literature of looking into the psychological basis for why she may have carried our shadow or the blame for why things are going wrong is that she carries all that patriarchy kicked out of goddess culture and said, well, we're doing patriarchy right now. The goddess temples are closed. The feminine is not the center of the community anymore. Instead, we're doing something different for a period of time. And so Lilith became the shadow of all that we kicked out or that we lost in our conscious memory when the goddess cult was submerged underneath a patriarchal cult. So there's definitely some kind of a reckoning here. There's a tension for this new moon event with maybe those patriarchal Martian cults that have excluded the feminine or blame the feminine. And Lilith is here with her rage just simply for being the feminine. She represents to like the green woman or the life that's inside of nature that has been disrespected and not necessarily honored fully, because we're still working to come back into balance with nature. I don't know if this is going to be a short one. I feel like I have a lot to say today. All right. And another square that's happening is with Saturn here at 24 degrees in Aquarius, and Saturn squaring the north node of destiny. So like the airwaves and what's fixed in the air can make it challenging for this particular transit to hit the destiny. Some other features that are right by Saturn that I didn't put here are that Vesta, sacred fires, is conjunct Saturn. So there's definitely some purifying, fiery energy coming to the airwaves here and kind of clearing the air. And the vertex for this event is also right here with sacred fires and Saturn. So there's definitely, I'm feeling some kind of crown chakra activation, purifying of the light, and making sacred of the thoughts. And that seems to connect to the idea of the midheaven where Lilith is, of there are these polarizing thoughts and polarizing views, and yet we're in telepathic communication. So how are we going to find that sacred balance? I think Vesta and Saturn here are going to be helping create new sacred structures in the crowns, in the airwaves, and in our telepathic communications with one another. All right, so how this eclipse will affect you. I'll go through the wheel real quick and share where these big beginnings and big endings might be happening in your life. All right, so if you are an Aries rising, this eclipse is going to be happening in your second house of values. So big changes with money and things that you value. And the opposite, Scorpio, is going to be in the 8th house of debt and dimensions. Or inheritance. So you could be having experience around changes in money, getting more money, or losing money. If your rising sign is Taurus, this eclipse will be happening in your first house of self. So big changes maybe in your physical body, in your health and how you see yourself. And it'll also be affecting the 7th house of your partnership, where the South Node is in Scorpio. If you are a Gemini rising, then this eclipse is happening in your 12th house of your psyche. So there could be new mental changes, sleep changes, things coming to your awareness from the unconscious. And then the opposite house that would be affecting is your 6th house of service, of pets, and of health. If you are a Cancer rising, this eclipse is happening in your 11th house of community, and it's also affecting your 5th house of creativity, sexuality, and children. If you are a Leo rising, then this eclipse is happening in your 10th house of career. So maybe some changes on the horizon there, and also affecting your 4th house of family, home, and ancestry. If you are a Virgo rising, then this eclipse is happening in your 9th house of spirituality. So maybe bringing about some new ideas and revolutionizing the way in which you see yourself as a spiritual being, or maybe going to school, going to university, getting some higher knowledge. And it will also be affecting your 3rd house of study and communication and short-term travel. If you are a Libra rising, then this eclipse will be happening in your 8th house of debt and inheritance. And it will also be affecting your 2nd house of values and money. So you could be losing money or gaining money, or maybe becoming more aware of how ancestors have affected you and things that you've inherited from your family. If you're a Scorpio rising, then this eclipse is happening in your 7th house of partnerships. So there could be some big changes within the partnership, maybe new partnerships coming online, and it will also be affecting your 1st house of self. If you are Sagittarius rising, then this eclipse is happening in your 6th house of service, pets, and health, and also affecting the 12th house of your psyche. If you are a Capricorn rising, then this eclipse is happening in your 5th house of creativity, sexuality, and children, and also affecting your 11th house of community and friends. If you're an Aquarius rising, then this eclipse is happening in your 4th house of family, home, and ancestry, and also having effects on the 10th house of your career. And if you are a Pisces rising, this eclipse is happening in your 3rd house of communications, short-term travel and study, and also affecting your 9th house of spirituality. All right. I'm offering a new moon ceremony that you're welcome to join me online. It's going to be on Saturday, April 30th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. It's just $10 to join, and we will be just holding space, and this will be happening exactly as the eclipse is happening. So a very powerful point to gather with other people and to charge this portal with our prayers, with mantras, with intentions. And I'll be holding space and guiding us through a little ceremony at that time, and I'd love to have you join me. Stop sharing. All right, so let's draw some cards and ask for some advice on this new moon eclipse. And just asking for divine guidance for our highest good, for the highest good of all, for everybody who is watching this and here with this energy. What do we need to know? All right, these came out of the deck. What's for our highest good? Help us to see the situation at hand, advice for action to move away from, and advice for action to move towards. So this is our present situation. Oh, for fun. The Page of Emotions. This is my new deck called the Muse Tarot. So we have this woman, this is very Pisces. She's in the water. There's lots of fish flying all around, and her heart is being activated. So beautiful, watery womb energy and the ability to flow through and manage lots of emotions. Advice for action not to take. Oh, there's the Tower. There's everything falling apart. And it's upside down. So maybe as things are falling apart or maybe falling away, we're going through big changes, just remember that you're actually falling together. You're just coming back into your center. You're coming back into your power. So as the shifts are happening, we're actually finding our true sacred ground. And advice for action to move towards. Oh, the Muse. All right, so in this deck, there's not kings, there's muses at the top, which represent the heart of each of the elements. So this is the Muse of Materials. So the earth sign. And this is about really moving into our abundance. I'm thinking too of the sun and moon being at that degree of nourishing and watering the garden and the rows of flowers. And these two women are covered in flowers. And the self is walking through the bridge into this beautiful landscape. So blessings of the earth in this Taurus season and of the spring and Beltane, which is right around the corner. So may we all bloom with more new and abundant life. Thank you so much for watching, for liking it and subscribing. Again, I'd love to have you join me at the new moon eclipse ceremony. And if you'd like me to draw a chart for yourself, for a partner, for a child, I would be most honored to do so. I wish you many blessings. Take care.